Last week from the near future, episode 004, No Time to Waste, let's go. Number one, the New York Times Audio had a piece in their Matter of Opinion feed called Does Society Really Need More Elon Musks? Good question. The conversation centered around Marc Andressen's recent manifesto. The part of the conversation where they focused on sort of Ayn Rand's perspective was most intriguing, their conversation about the hubris of the Silicon Valley innovator. You'll recall that Ayn Rand's philosophies, celebrating individualism and self-interest over collective welfare, sort of resonate with some in the tech industry, promoting libertarian views that technology plus free markets alone can solve problems. They can't. This perspective fails to consider potential downsides of technology or the need for ethical constraints. A former colleague started espousing Randian principles after having spent over a decade in Silicon Valley, as if they had been mind-controlled from hanging out there too long and beginning to think very highly of themselves. Let's have a listen to an expert from the opinion.
I really read this manifesto as trying to reassert a vision for the future that recaptures that kind of techno-optimistic, libertarian. A lot of this are ideas that are drawn from the books of Ayn Rand. Some people call her a philosopher, her philosophy of objectivism, and the idea that great innovators should basically just be given free rein to go out and create. So in Atlas Shrugged, there's this innovator named John Galt, and he creates this magical place called Galt's Gulch.
First of all, I think this whole manifesto is just a way to smuggle in the case for completely unfettered AI, which is 6 paragraphs in the middle of it, because the rest is boilerplate. The rest is stuff we've heard a million times. It's like Economics 101, David Ricardo, comparative advantage, capitalism good, communism bad, right? But really, the only moment where he makes an explicit case for something like right now in the moment is when he says, if you oppose AI, you are a murderer because AI is going to save lives. So
that was my favorite
I thought the whole thing is like a Trojan horse for that argument. But in the end, he does this super lazy thing where he says, instead of giving citations or backup for anything I've said, just read these like 50 thinkers who I find inspiring. And one of them is John Galt. And actually, not that we need to nerd out over this, but I think that the vision of Galt's Gulch and the vision in the John Galt speech is actually completely opposed to what Andreessen is saying here. I think he's got a very simplistic, because Andreessen is saying we need to do this in order to, this will be good for the world, right? The way to solve all of humanity's problems is through this. Whereas Galt is like, I don't live to solve anyone else's problems but my own.
Yes.
Number two, Vancouver Art Museum Futures of Fashion, edited by Stephanie Revick. I was super humbled to be asked to contribute to the exhibition in the form of an excerpt from my 2008 essay, Design Fiction, a short essay on design, science, fact, and fiction, which of course became the basis for design fiction as a practice. And then there's the manual of design fiction, which is still available. You should pick it up over at shop.nearfuturelaboratory.com. What's even more humbling, I have to say, is that my essay appears in their catalog right after Frederick Jameson's essay, which you should have read already, Progress versus Utopia, or Can We Imagine the Future?, which itself obviously informed my latest book subject and its title, It's Time to Imagine Harder. Thanks to my friend Garnet Hertz for shepherding a copy for me from Vancouver. Number three, Android's Dream website is almost done. Jed has done an awesome job getting it up and working through some technical issues. It's the digital twin of the Android's Dream of Electric Sheet book and all the cards, and has this lovely early internet feel to it, very tactile, playful, and a tangible homepage. Looking forward to getting that one all done. Number four, new podcast is up with Gemma Jones and School of Critical Design. Here's one of my favorite passages from our conversation.
While I was over in New York last week, I went to an exhibition at the MoMA on emerging ecologies. And it was all about this sort of 60s, 70s movement of eco-futures, Buckminster Fuller, etc. And it's like, we've known about this stuff for 50 years and we still haven't risen to the challenge. It's just a reminder that we don't listen to our own wisdom a lot of the time.
Number six, General Seminar, Season 4, Episode 4. Been preparing for this as it's coming up in 3 days. Circular Economy Futures, where we get to wander into a possible future where networks of value circulation are closed loop. Sounds nice in theory, and I'm super curious to see what we find that are the evidence of this evolved economic value chain flow. Number 7, Don't Get a Job, Make a Job. Inventive Career Models for Next-Gen Creatives, a book by Jim Barton, and now in its new edition. It's a great book, perfect for the beautifully confused creative practitioners that's trying to find their way into doing work that doesn't feel like the worst kind of work. You'll know this is for you if you feel you're on the path towards creative independence and just need encouragement to do your own thing. It's got a section on self-promotion. That was probably my favorite, which the creative consciousness is absolutely terrible at, or thinks that self-promotion is posting a single tweet or LinkedIn post and thinking the job is done, or hoping that someone comes across your work. Get over yourself. If you believe in the work you've created, you need to help others believe it as well, which means breaking through that barrier. If you don't believe in your work enough to represent it, how can you expect anyone else to, unless you pay some kind of half-assed marketing company to do it for you?
I made $970,000 last year.
Because you're embarrassed about your own work. It's crazy. There's a section on trusting your instinct and swimming against the tide, and it's all done through case studies of individual creatives who have worked through these challenges. Get yourself a copy. Link is in the show notes. Okay, that's it. Last week from the near future for the week ending October 29th, 2023. Don't forget to subscribe, support this work on Patreon over at patreon.com/nearfuturelaboratory, and pick something up over at shop.nearfuturelaboratory.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Julian from Near Future Laboratory. Bye.
CTSCOTC.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you have any problem going to high power early so we